Somebody had asked me why do I have that wood against the open garage, and it's because in Vegas it gets well over 100 degrees, and I got this swamp cooler, so I like to leave the garage door open and just have it. All that does is it keeps the air in. Does it work? Well, it's about, I don't know, 75 in here right now, even with the garage door open, because that swamp cooler is about 3 times the size of what I need for this space. The only downside is it's a little humid. Alright. If this video looks familiar, it is. It's the last one I just uploaded, but I decided to delete that one. I met with my boss last night, and at the end of that conversation, he revealed to me that one of my coworkers does indeed follow my channel, and went out of his way to make sure that my boss saw my video. So after that revelation, I thought about it. Like, I said, well, do I have anything in my videos that if I was called into an HR department, would I be willing and or able to stand by the words I've said? And I would say yes. They're borderline a little bit terse, but I've never mentioned anybody's names, and I was very honest and truthful in the previous videos, at least from my perspective. And I don't think I said anything that would like make somebody, I mean, I think I represented myself fairly well, but in this video, I think I let my emotions kind of possibly start crossing a line a little bit. And after thinking about it, I was like, well, you know, right now everybody's a little upset, and I don't know if I would, I think I maybe came close to crossing the line. So I just said, you know, screw it. I'm just going to delete it and redo it. And it's unfortunate too, because I really liked the energy of the last video, and we had some good subjects that if I have to cover a second time, I don't know if I can do it with the same enthusiasm, but we're certainly going to try. I will say this, you know, with me working the nights and then being on call for the airport, you know, I've been staying up super late, and the last couple of days I had to get up early because I had work at the job sites, and now I got to go try to hunt that paperwork down. I'm not really getting the best sleep, and I don't feel right, like physically, so it's kind of a bummer. But man, sometimes when you got certain jobs, you just got to dig deep, you got to get it done. So no excuses, we just got to handle our business, you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna focus. I'm trying to I think I'm gonna try to keep work related issues out of my videos moving forward, just because, you know, there are people that I work with that do watch my videos, and I appreciate you guys. I'm glad you guys do follow me. I think that's awesome. However, whoever it was that went and showed my boss the video, like, I obviously, like, if I'm going to put it online, I have to stand by it, and, you know, if I say something, I got to account for it. And I think I do that fairly well, and I don't think I went back and watched the videos, and I don't think I really said anything that crossed any lines. Didn't mention any names, you know, and it was all stuff that I stand by. I stand by every word I've ever said, but it's also one of those things where it's just like, you know, you think about an iron worker, a grown-ass man who's running to your boss to go, hey, look at this. Like, did you give him an apple? Oh, man. Hey, just goes to show you, not everybody's your friend. All right, I'll go over those comments again, but now I have my laptop this time. So, the comment we had talked about in the previous video that I deleted was Polyfission2776. Writes, it has been the opposite experience for me. The more buff I get, the friendlier nerds seem to be towards me. It's the other buff dude for some reason who act aggressive around me. Simple things like deliberately getting in my way on the sidewalk to cause confrontation. That kind of petty S-H-I-T. What's up with that? And I had to... I have a theory. I have a theory about that. And my theory is that when other big dudes, when they act like that, you know, the guys on the sidewalk, that when you see them coming, they won't get out of your way, or they'll shoulder check you, that kind of thing. Dudes that act like that, I have a theory that they've never been in like a real fight or in an emergency situation, and they're untested, so there's like this subconscious need to see if they got the chops. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're like overtly thinking that way, but I think it's in the back of the head, because you see people that are like that. And usually, yeah, it's just people that if you hold your ground, they back down, usually. Or what's the... You ever seen like two guys fight that don't really want to fight, but they also don't want to look bad? So what usually happens is they size each other up, and then they'll get the shove in, and they're like, you swing first, no, you swing first, no, you swing first. And it's like, hold me back, hold me back. Dude, if I think it's gonna come down to like a fist fight, I don't size anybody up. The second they start sizing me up, I just go immediately. But that being said, gentlemen our age, we pride ourselves on our conflict resolution abilities, and we try not to let things devolve into fisticuffs. Anything that could get you arrested for assault. But in this instance, I have and I talked about it in the last video where I deleted it, I have a way of handling things that is just awesome. I love it. Whenever I'm in a social situation, and you know, you're walking in the mall with your kids, and you can see a homeboy, he's got the fake lad syndrome, and he's locked eyes with you, and he's in your path, and you can just tell, this guy's not gonna move. You know who that is. Well, as you get closer, and right when you get up to him, I just stop. I just stop and stand there, and I kind of have this look on my face. And they don't know what to do. They stop, and it's the same thing every time. They get confused at first, and then they angrily walk around you. And then as they walk around me, I always just kind of, just like throw a little laugh in there. And they get so mad. It is hilarious. The other way, when I used to work customer service, and I had to deal with like angry Karens, I would always use this phrase, "Ma'am, there's no need to be indignant." And that had the same reaction. There was a second of confusion where they'd think about what I just said to them, and then they would become enraged and start screaming at me, "I'll show you indignant." Like, it works every time. Those are the two things where it's like I am knowingly setting these people off, you know what I mean? But it's weird because, like, in the first scenario where when two people are walking in the same path and you know the other one's not going to yield and make you walk around him, which if you're on a sidewalk, think about that. The guy's taking up the sidewalk and he's walking towards you, and he's not going to move over politely, and you're on your side. What does that mean? It means you got to get off the sidewalk and walk around him in the dirt. And that's like a total, like, dominance thing. And it's so petty and childish. And the thing that I use, the thing I came up with is so beautiful, because you're stopping, you're standing in your one spot, and you're not, you know, you're entitled to stand in your spot. You're not being aggressive. You're not pushing him out of the way. But it's weird because in that instance, they don't know what just happened. They don't know, did I just lose? Did I just lose this game of chicken? Did I just get punked, or you know, you could just see the confusion set in, and they're thinking about it, and it's just a thing of beauty. And then if you throw that little chuckle in when they walk around you, as they always do, it makes them so angry. But then there's not, what are they going to say? You know, like, how dare you stand perfectly still and not move? You know what I mean? It's just like a perfect act of non-aggression. It gets your point across. It makes them be the ones to have to yield, because they still have to walk around you. You've stayed your ground, and they don't know what happened. It's just wonderful. It's like on all levels, it's a win-win. And it resolves the conflict peacefully without you having to, you know, either get shoulder checked by some infantile egomaniac, or having you also be the one who doesn't yield. Because, you know, the adult grown-up thing to do is just get out of the guy's way and let him pass. But, you know, there's a part of, like, an adult male, there's a part of you that it just doesn't sit right. It hurts your soul whenever you have to yield to somebody like that. It's like you failed to draw a healthy boundary, or you failed to stand your ground. And if you are the bigger man, there's a party that feels like it died a little bit. Like, why did I let that guy walk all over me? Like, why did I fail to set that healthy boundary? And it's the same thing. I just, with the work scenario where I deleted that. I was thinking about that too, and it's like, there's a part of me that doesn't sit right with, because I wanna say these things. I wanna set these boundaries. I wanna set these shall not cross lines. But I also have to think of the bigger picture, and it's like, I've never been fired from a job. I've never been let go, and I've always ended stuff on my own terms. And we do have to be accountable for the things we say. So I think what it does require from me is a little more maybe nuance. I need to be a little more careful about what I say. I have to imagine I have to stand by every single word I say, and I have to assume that everybody I know can watch these videos and does. So, moving forward, I'll just keep that in mind. And that's cool. I mean, like I said, there's nothing I've said in the past that I wouldn't absolutely say to somebody's face. So, man, I did that last video with such enthusiasm, and I had good energy. And now this morning, I'm feeling really sick, guys. Like, I think maybe I let the stress of this whole thing get to me a little bit, because I am struggling. But we're going to get through this. The next comment, we have Caleb Balver 3223. Man, there's nothing wrong with putting people back in their place. You hold back because you're a big dude and think you're being humble or a good guy, but all you've really done is let your strengths be used against you. Sounds like you have them on character too, if they're showing their vulnerabilities so openly. Next time it happens, lean into it. Don't second guess if you're doing the right thing or trying to take the higher ground. Call a MF out. He's talking about the Games Workshop. Incidentally, I really wish I could do that sometimes. It's interesting. Most days I don't really think of myself like this. I'm walking around and I'm not like, I don't really, I don't walk with my the what do you call it, the ghost lad syndrome, with the big guy that. I don't do that. I just walk normal. Like, I don't really see myself as this. But then when I get angry, my wife and other people have said, you get scared. You're terrifying. Like, you go from like not even noticeable to like absolutely terrifying. And then I wonder, like, why is everybody in the room staring at me all of a sudden? Because I guess I have like this look on my face, and it's just, yeah, I get downright scary is what they tell me. But I don't know. See, I've always prided myself on my conflict resolution abilities, and I've always tried to, like, regardless, like, I wasn't always like this, you know what I mean? I had to talk my way out of a lot of stuff, and I always, I really learned to resolve conflict in a neutral or in an amicable way that everybody left, if not satisfied, but being heard, if that makes sense. I always want to hear people, and we want to be heard by others. And I think what tends to happen is everybody wants to get their point across, but nobody wants to listen. And I find myself in a lot of situations where, I'm trying to plead my case and get the other person to understand my point of view. And I find that very rarely, and including this issue with work, like, very rarely do I feel heard, and it's super, super frustrating, because I think that if we actually took the time to just really hear each other, listen to each other, we would just resolve a lot of issues. And we would find that more often than not, we have more in common than we think we do. And we find points of shared interest and probably come together a little bit more. Right now, everything's so divided. Everyone's so unwilling to hear or work with the other side, if you will, and nobody's willing to just like really just sit down, listen, and have those conversations. But what happens in real life is a microcosm of that. And but believe me, there are days where I would love to just throw my weight around, and I think when I get to a certain point, I have in the past, I've done that, but I don't think this instance called for it. It actually got me thinking. I'm going to go back to that Games Workshop store, and I'm just going to try to strike up a conversation with this guy. just, hey, what's up, brother? You know, just shoot the crap with him and see what kind of person he is, and if he's willing to have that conversation back with me, I bet you him and I could be friends. You never know. And if he's not willing to do that, well, that tells me I don't really need, there's no value in having him in my life anyways, so we will just move on from there. I think there's two issues in my adult life as a man that have been a challenge, and it's something that I've had to overcome, and it constantly comes up again and again, no matter what, whether it's work or at the gym or in personal relationships. One of them is being assertive in a way that's not aggressive, but being direct. Like when we have a problem with another person, instead of being a passive aggressive, just directly stating how we feel about things, how it's affecting us, and how, you know, we would like to see things changed. For some reason, people have a real problem with that, and as do I. We just don't like confrontation. I think there's something built into us that tries to avoid direct confrontation. Now, we can get to a point where we're angry enough where we want confrontation, but building up to that, it can be very difficult for most people. So that's just, and you don't want to be confrontational, you want to be assertive. Like, I want to tell you, like, hey man, this is my problem, and this is how it's making me feel, in a way that's not aggressive. Like, you don't want to attack people, you don't want to make them feel attacked, because then they become defensive. And then the other thing is setting healthy boundaries, which kind of comes down to being assertive again. Like in this instance, you know, I stayed late last night at work, and now I'm expected to go in the morning to the shop to do this stuff, and then I gotta go back to work later in the afternoon. It's 2 days in a row, and it's starting to affect me physically. And it's like, where in there do I draw a healthy boundary and say, man, this is too much. This needs to wait. This needs to wait till later. But it's important, so I just gotta have it. In this instance, I gotta get it done. But things like that, you know, for me personally, I can only speak for myself, but that's always been my issue. It could be something as simple as just, you know, when I have an issue with my wife and I want to tell her how I feel, but I don't want to make her angry, so I'll either not say something, or I'll, you know, things of that nature. You know, we let issues become things they don't need to be because we're not communicating properly. And then sometimes people will, if they see that you're the type of person that will avoid conflict, and they will tend to use you, and you can put yourself in a position of setting yourself up for some kind of abuse because you have the ability to say no. So those things are very important, and I found it's like in my day-to-day life, that's my biggest challenge, is both being assertive and direct and setting healthy boundaries. I figure those two things out, and you know what's funny about that is when you figure that out and you start living that way, people start reacting to you differently, and all of a sudden people want to be around you and they seek your counsel out. Because I think there's a part of us that really appreciates, like if you think about who you admire, think of somebody you want to be like, or somebody that you like being around. It could be a coworker, it could be a friend, it could be somebody like a media personality. We tend to gravitate towards people that are cool, they're fun to be around, they're direct. You know, they make you a better person. Nobody wants to be around like a passive aggressive asshole, you know what I mean? Like, or somebody that's aggressive or rude. And it's like, if we don't like being around those people, why are we going to be that person, you know? Matter of fact, I was working for a company called Marnell, and up to that point, as a position of management, I kind of tried to act like a Marine, and I found the guys didn't respond to it at all. Civilians, military, two different. They don't react. They didn't grow up in that environment. They don't like it that when people come at them. But I thought that, you know, that's what I was supposed to do. Is if you want something done, you gotta just tell them to do it. Yeah, get it done, mother. You know, I'm not asking you, son. And I wonder, like, why doesn't anyone listen to me? And it was the head superintendent from Marnell, Jody. I saw that he always posed things in a way of a question. Like he did this thing where he would kind of come up to you and be like, hey, I need you to take the trash out before you go home. Thank you, I really appreciate it. And he'd walk away, and you'd be like, I didn't agree to, you just, I was watching that one day, and I was watching him work people, and I'm like, he didn't ask that guy to do that. That guy did it without, okay, when you don't do that, like if somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, I need to take the trash out before you leave, what do you normally do? Well, that's not my job. You do it yourself. But it was the way he did it. It was so slick. Hey, I need you to take the trash out before you leave. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. And he'd walk away before he even had a chance to say no or think about it. And I was like, I went and asked him about that one day. I was like, hey, that little mind trick you do on people, what is that about? And he sat me down and he's like, I've been wanting to talk to you about that. And he talked to me about leadership and how to get people to do what you want them to do. And he said, if you don't have the skills that you want as a leader, as a father, as a person, find somebody that you admire and that you like being around and emulate them. Just kind of act like, fake it till you make it. Start acting like the people that you like to work around. And eventually, you'll start acting like people that you want to be around, and people will want to be around you, So that's kind of how I got my start. Was I started thinking like, all right, I'm gonna start acting like that dude because he's really cool. He's really fun to work with, and that's kind of. And once you start thinking about how you're interacting with other people and how they're reacting to you, change starts happening, and next thing you know, people are requesting you. They're asking for you to come work for them and things of that nature, or they're coming to seek you out for counsel. It's a really cool thing. So I'm genuinely pretty cautious about the whole throwing the weight around thing or acting intimidating or, trying to intentionally put people off. Now, when you get angry, when you've crossed the line and you're no longer thinking about the well-being of others, you're just pissed. That's a whole different story. Now that's a crisis situation. You know what I mean? Now the things we do are definitely directly affecting other people, and we need to be careful in those situations too, because that can quickly become out of hand, and there could be legal repercussions if that goes too far. And that's something I'm always thinking about. Like, I wanted to get mad and go off, but I got my kids with me, and I'm thinking, well, what are my kids going to think? How's this going to look? What could be the negative outcomes of this? And that will cause me sometimes to back off and just allow other people. Like, I know at that point I'm being a doormat, but I'm doing so because I want to diffuse the situation, or I don't want to make things worse than they already are. So, I don't know. It's always give or take. The bottom line is I do try to think about how I'm coming off to other people, and, a lot of times I'll make decisions based on that. And unfortunately, sometimes it does hurt the soul a little when you acquiesce to people that you just know that you could just beat up and down the street. The only reason why they're still living is because you're allowing it. You know what I mean? It's like it's in the back of your head. You're just like, but sometimes you just got to be the bigger man. If nobody's going to be the bigger man, sometimes you just got to choose to do it. Someone has to.